And we are delighted to be joined by the 2023 winner of Best Candidate for National Diploma for Occupational Health and Safety Management Professionals, Unit 1, and the Best Candidate for National Diploma for Occupational Health and Safety Management Professionals overall. We are delighted to introduce Jayne Morgan, who studied her NEBOSH Diploma with Astutis. Jayne, hello, how are we?
Hello, I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm fantastic. I'm delighted to be able to talk to you again. We talked briefly at your graduation where you received your 2 awards.
Yeah.
I'm interested for the viewers and listeners at home. Could you be able to tell us a little bit about your current role and your occupational journey up till now? Is that okay?
Yeah, so I'm the Health and Safety Director at James Hall and Company, and we're the distribution centre for Spar convenience stores in the north of England. So we distribute to over 600 stores, convenience stores, but we also have food manufacturing factories. We have the head office support function, transport division, obviously the warehousing and logistics side, and then we have 161 of our own company-owned stores. So I look after the health and safety for quite a lot of employees that we've got, and a very varied company that I work for. And in terms of how I got to where I am, so when I graduated from a master's at university, I really wasn't sure what career path to take. I wasn't really sure, I knew I wanted to go into private industry, but I wasn't really sure what was out there. And I think when you go through that education cycle, you actually don't know what's out there because you've not really been exposed to it too much. So James Hall and Company offered a graduate scheme where I was able to take the opportunity to work with the company and work in loads of different areas of business. So all the office support functions, I spent some time in manufacturing, in the retail side, and really it was to learn how the business worked and all the different components that made us a successful business, and also helped me find what career path suited me best. So I was quite lucky with that because a lot of companies pigeonhole you a little bit into you can be like a finance graduate or HR graduate, something like that. Whereas this was more exposure to different divisions. And I was able to actually work with every level in the company, so all the way through management and down to all our employees, and really understand what makes the business tick, and what all the different components for success. And I really enjoyed speaking to the employees, and people are really passionate about the jobs that they do, and every single job is so important. For our success, and I just really enjoyed speaking to the people. So I knew that when whatever career path I chose, it really had to be something that was people focused, because that's what I got most enjoyment out of. And then I spent a week with the health and safety department here, and I'll be totally honest, I didn't even know that health and safety departments were like a thing. I thought beyond first aid and fire, I just really didn't know anything about it. And really, I just thought it was just something that the managers do, not an individual profession. I just really didn't know. But I absolutely loved my time with the department. Really connected with the legal side and the people side. And I just knew that was where I wanted to be, and that I would get job satisfaction out of, having a job where anything I do, and that the team does, can really safeguard people and help contribute to a happy and healthy workforce. So I just knew that was what I wanted to be involved in. And like I said, the team that was here were really engaged with the subject and really passionate about developing that workplace culture. So instantly knew as soon as I got into that department, that's what I wanted to do. I then joined the health and safety department and was a retail manager. So I looked after health and safety for the retail stores. I then got promoted to head of health and safety, looking after the group, and then this summer I became health and safety director for the company. So that's my journey.
Congratulations, and the journey only continues. If I can take you back to September, I believe it was Monday, the 11th of September, NEBOSH Graduation. Yeah. You received 2 awards. Can you take us back to that day? How was that day for you?
In terms of the graduation itself, I think it was done really well by NEBOSH. So even though it was a professional qualification, the academic, you really got the sense of how academic it was. It was exactly like my graduation from university, so the same level. And I think that was really important, that it really acknowledged that it's a big achievement and it's professional as well as academic, and it's degree level. So that was really good. yeah, I think it was really good to see people that I'd learned with. So I did the virtual course with Astutis, and it was good to see them in real life, because we hadn't actually met apart from a little square on a screen. So it was good to meet them, and actually quite grounding, I suppose, to see how many people are in the profession and are actually working towards making the workplaces safe, not just in the UK but around the world, and how many people are actually dedicated to the profession. So that was really good. And then at the graduation we had the guest speaker, so Jayne Morgan, who had been in a workplace accident himself, and again dedicated his life to prevention and supporting workplaces in making it safer, because ultimately with health and safety it can have a real effect on someone's life, and you know, we're all there to try and stop that from happening and educate people. So I think it was really good, and I think with a lot of different companies, health and safety departments can be quite small, or it might just be 1 or 2 people. And so when we were at that graduation, you saw actually you are part of a wider community, all focused on kind of workplace safety. So I think that was probably the most enjoyable part of the graduation, and also speaking to people about the challenges that they have at work and realising that, you know, we all have the same challenges, we all get the same kind of job satisfaction, we all understand the importance of it. So yeah.
Fantastic. I remember being there on the day. I remember enjoying every single aspect of it. Being able to participate in 2 ceremonies was an absolute joy. And it kind of leads nicely onto my next question about the qualifications you took with Astutis, because obviously you graduated. Could you take us on the journey of the courses you decided to study with us, and what inspired those decisions to study those courses?
Yep, so I did the diploma for occupational health and safety management professionals. I always get that title, I think that's it. So I did that, and I'd done the NEBOSH general certificate before, and I really enjoyed it, but I just wanted to go a little bit further and explore some different kind of topics more in depth. My company were really supportive, and they wanted me to have that qualification and be able to explore different avenues of health and safety to make sure that we're compliant here. So I got some, you know, really good support from the company in terms of that. And I kind of started looking around at different kind of course providers, and I really wanted something that would fit into kind of my lifestyle and my work. I was quite hesitant about the virtual learning side. It's not something I've done before. I know people had done it kind of through the pandemic, but it's not something I'd really done before, and I was a bit concerned about, oh, is it going to be too much time on the screen sort of thing. But it didn't feel like that at all. It was almost like being in a classroom. Really interactive, really still built relationships with the tutors and the course colleagues. And yeah, I just wanted to broaden my knowledge on health and safety, really, and the way it was delivered and the kind of breadth of the diploma kind of really was what I was looking for, and really delivered.
Well, you kind of touched on my next question about the course delivery. You chose virtual classroom with Astutis. Yeah. You said that you were slightly hesitant there. You're not the only learner who, prior to studying the course, was a bit hesitant there. Yeah. What got you over that line to get you to kind of enroll on the virtual classroom then?
I think from day one, so I was obviously looking around and seeing kind of what providers were out there that did it, and from day one, the kind of comms from Astutis in terms of the customer service was really good. So I had conversations with different members of the team, how it tried to understand how it would work. You know, they came back with told me about, we'll do breakout sessions and we'll do different activities, so it's more interactive and you get a workbook. And I'd read reviews as well of people that had done it before, and I think for me I think that kind of inspired me to go down that route, rather than, because I was a bit concerned it would just be kind of quite PowerPoint heavy on a screen, and obviously sometimes it's when it's like all day long, it's hard to kind of keep.
Can be quite weary, yes.
Yeah, so I think from kind of the first phone call I had with Astutis about, this is what I'm interested in, and can you tell me a little bit more about it? And again, reading reviews from learners that had done it, I was more comfortable with kind of attending the course session as well. And on the Astutis website, there's little videos that shows you how it works and how it would operate. So I watched a few of those, and actually the way that it is done really fit into, again, my lifestyle and my work arrangements. And what I really liked about it was that it was a full week. So you were on, you're online for a full week, but again, it didn't feel like you were kind of sat behind a screen. It did feel like you were in a classroom. And so it meant that you can take yourself out of work for a week and really focus on the syllabus and the diploma. And it wasn't like dipping in and then dipping back out on odd days. It was a full core kind of week where you studied. That worked really well for me. And again, my company were really supportive in letting me go off and do that. So I didn't have to worry about work. I could kind of leave it where it was, go and focus on my studies, and then come back to work and do my kind of own revision at the same time.
Delighted to hear that the method worked with you, and we continue to hear stories about that. And I understand, that maybe it hasn't been as a long time since you've passed the course, but could you touch on maybe how you've been able to utilize the course to make your own workplace safer in that time period?
Yeah, so a lot of the content that we studied for the diploma syllabus, it was things that I was aware of, but probably my depth of knowledge wasn't as good as it could have been. So things like more occupational health side, I guess, so things like noise, exposure to dust. I knew about those things, but I was able to really sit back and think, well, actually, are we doing enough? Is there more that we can do? So we're quite fortunate that we have an occupational health team here. So we have nurse practitioners on site. So I went up and spoke to them, and we came up with reviewed what we did for occupational health, improved it, rolled it out across the business and across the sites, and started speaking to more employees more about occupational health rather than just kind of accident and injury type injuries. So that's been really good. And I think the course overall, it touched on the development of health and safety, the kind of industry and thinking behind it. And that's not something I'd really explored before. So kind of concepts like safety differently, things like that. So I think I was able to really think about what my own thoughts were about health and safety and where I think that the direction of the company should be going. And then speaking to my colleagues about what their thoughts are and introducing them to those concepts, and really stepping back and thinking, actually, what are we doing and where are we going? So I think the course really helped me kind of have my own opinions on kind of the strategy and direction as well as the day-to-day job.
That's fantastic to hear. There's an awful lot on the NEBOSH Level 6 diploma. There is an awful lot, and I know I'm asking a rather pointed question here, but if you can think back at the course, would you have a best aspect of the course that you remember and you think, okay, that I really enjoyed that, I know that I can apply that here or apply that there? Was there a part of the course that you think fits that bill for you?
There's probably two bits I would say. So one of them is the communication side. So I didn't actually know this was in this syllabus. Well, I knew it was there, but I wasn't really sure how much depth we would go into. But there was a big piece on different types of management and leadership style, not only in terms of yourself and how you want to be a manager and your leadership style and how you can improve that, but also how to communicate and understand other managers and what they're going through. So obviously there's managers that have a whole array of different priorities, and actually being able to understand their perspective and talk to them in health and safety in a way that kind of speaks their language. Because if you don't have that technical background of health and safety, the terminology that a safety practitioner might use, other people might not engage with that. So I think that was a really good part of the course where you actually could think about, right, hang on, if somebody doesn't know what this means, how can I phrase it in a way that they'll understand the significance and importance of it? So I think that was a really, really core part of the course. And again, I knew kind of management and leadership was in there, but I probably hadn't really thought how that could be used in health and safety to kind of get your point across to the business. So that was really good. And then I think the second one, if we can have two, the second one would probably be, probably again more the kind of occupational health side of it. I think all the different tools and things that are available on the HSE website, so noise tools, things like that. The course was so practical and engaging that we were able to go off and have a go at them ourselves, and then come back to the course and talk to our colleagues about how we've used it and whether we've got it right. And now I think if something came up, I'd be totally comfortable I know where to go to look for information I need. I know how to use the tools that are on there, and probably a lot better than I would have done before.
Fantastic. I mean, at least that's the minimum, isn't it? Being able to take something away from it. And it's definitely, you touched on something there about the art of selling safety to an organization. I think that the NEBOSH diploma definitely does help with that. My next question was tailing back to the learning method, about the differences that you found between classroom learning and the virtual classroom learning. What would you say in regards to that? Would you say that the virtual classroom experience was equal to that of a classroom learning experience for you personally?
Yeah, I think so. I think I really didn't feel like I was sat looking at a screen all day. And the way it was delivered, we had breakout rooms, so we got to speak to different colleagues on the course, different candidates who were sitting with you. So you weren't always with the same group of people. Like you were in terms of the big group, you were with the same people, but in terms of the breakout rooms, you got to speak to different people, smaller groups, understand their industry and their background. I think that was quite interesting as well, because you are exposed to people in completely different safety, but in completely different contexts. And you would have that, those relationships you would have kind of in a classroom. I had a really good group. We made a WhatsApp group and talked on that, around the course. Actually met some of them at the graduation as well. And it was even, it's the first time I actually met them in person. It felt like I knew them really well, because we interacted really well on the classroom. And again, it's not just kind of watching a PowerPoint. So I've not done a classroom course with the Astutis, but I can't imagine it being any different. And I think being able to do it in the comfort of your own home as well. There was plenty of breaks, so you can kind of go off, make a brew, come back, that kind of thing. So it worked really well. And like I said, I would definitely do it again. I would have no hesitation now about doing a virtual classroom course with Astutis at all.
Well, that very, very nicely takes me on to my next question, because I was about to ask you about the toughness of the course, or the hard nature of it. A lot's being made about the challenge, I think is the best word for the NEBOSH diploma. In your opinion, honestly now, how hard was the course? And was there a hardest part? And how would you articulate that to people who are maybe thinking about doing it and maybe put off by the scale of it?
Yeah. It is. I think it is. I think the first step is, it is a challenge, right? And it's a difficult course, and it's designed to be challenging and testing, because that is the level that it's at. So it is a challenging thing. I think the most challenging thing for me, I'm really passionate about my job and about health and safety. So in terms of learning about the content and the classroom course and all that kind of stuff, I just didn't find that challenging as well. Some things were really thought-provoking, and you had to kind of wrap your head around different concepts. And some things were harder to learn than others. For me, it was a more technical side of health and safety, where you have to learn about different measurements and what does that mean, and then translate that into law. Like, they are hard things to do. And I think I think for people thinking about whether to do it or not, have a bit of acceptance that it is going to be challenging, and that is why it's seen as such a good qualification to have, because it's difficult and it's there's a challenge. But in terms of actually learning it, I enjoyed the content and the course so much that I didn't really find that challenging. And I think the way it was delivered, we were able to. The thing about the NEBOSH diploma now is that the exam is very much designed to make you apply what you've learned to a real life scenario.
Right.
So it's not just learn the rules and regulations off by heart. It's you know where to go for them if you need them. Here's a scenario, and apply them, and that's what you would do in your normal kind of workplace. So I think the content and learning, I didn't really find that challenging. The exam was challenging. Some of the exams were, depending on the scenario. I think because you're giving something that you're not necessarily isn't an industry that you're working in. So I think for one of my exams, it was about a car repair garage, and it's not something I'm familiar with. So it is challenging trying to think, right, well, if I worked here, how would I apply this? So that's a bit of a challenge. But I think the most challenging thing out of the whole course is probably the exam in terms of timing, because you've obviously got your job to do, and your home life and those kind of things, and you've kind of got to make the exam fit around that. So I was very lucky, and I got a lot of support from my company, and I was able to take time to go away and do the exam. But that is a challenging part, because you've got to dedicate time and resource to it. But obviously everybody's got kind of a day job and different life commitments. So yeah.
It is that balance, and I think you articulated it very, very well there. It is an investment of both financial time and of course your life. There is a lot of time that you've got to dedicate to it. They streamline the course, but even then it's still a very, very monumental amount of time. Is that investment worth it, would you say, to those watching at home, maybe teetering on it, might be in a supervisory or managerial position? Would you say to those individuals that investment, and it is a big investment, would you say it's worth it?
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of my previous role as head of health and safety, I think with the NEBOSH general certificate, I could do my job, and I was fine, absolutely fine. But when I started getting higher up in the department and getting promotions, I'm not sure. I think it really benefited me in those roles, because I was more aware of the depth and technicalities of health and safety, and I can't honestly imagine doing my job without it now. I think it really set me up. It really opened my mind to the world of health and safety more. So I think in terms of, is it worth it? Definitely from a career progression point of view, and definitely if you do want to take your company further in health and safety, or be more aware of what's around you, because I think I'm not sure if it's changed or not since I did it, but the general certificate was very kind of understand the law, whereas this one is more practical application, and also in terms of helping colleagues understand how to apply that in the workplace. So we work with a lot of managers who look at a lot of different industries, all within our group, and we have to work with them and learn from them what goes on in the department, and then help them understand the kind of legal responsibilities and apply that. And I think the diploma, because I had to do that as part of the diploma, I'm now so much more comfortable in guiding other people to do that as well. So it was totally invaluable to me, a really good investment. I think the main thing is, I actually, looking back, I really enjoyed doing it.
That helps. That does help when you enjoy it. And we're delighted to hear that you've been able to practice, or at least adopt it into the workplace. And my next question was going to be how you plan to do that in the future, how you plan to utilize that knowledge, that kind of that bank of knowledge that you obtained to make your workplace safer. How do you plan on doing so?
So I think after doing the diploma, I really thought about each module that we'd learn, looked at our policies and procedures that we have as a business, and went through them, looked at how we could improve them, and so I'm still kind of in the process of doing that. And then I'm fortunately I have a really good team behind me, so we have a good health and safety department here in the company, all at different levels, and now I'm able to kind of coach and guide them a little bit. Some of them haven't done the diploma, so actually being able to help them and open their minds to kind of what else is out there, what other hazards are out there that we have to think about and protect our workers from. And yeah, so I think at the minute that's where I'm up to kind of in my career, just making sure that we are doing everything we can, and that my team can kind of support that through as well.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. And two more questions, and I will let you go. I pinky promise. When it comes to making a decision about investing in training, one of the most important things, other than your learning method and of course the course, is picking the right training provider. Now you had the whole choice, and we were lucky enough. You placed your trust in us, and you chose an Astutis course. What were the kind of metrics in that decision making? What were the kind of tangible differences that you were able to notice that helped you make that kind of decision?
I think so. When I started looking for a course provider, I wanted someone on the end of the phone that I could talk to. And with Astutis, as soon as I've made that first phone call, the person on the other end was so helpful, told me about where to look for information on the website, spoke to me about different methods of learning, spoke to me about how I would learn best and what I thought what my learning style was, and then gave me advice and guidance. And I think with Astutis really is a really kind of community feel around the provider. You know, I was never ever in a position where nobody picks up the phone or nobody answered me on the web chat. There was always someone there to speak to, and they always got back to me. And I think that was one of the things that really encouraged me to go with Astutis, because I knew from that point on that if I had any issues with the course or I was struggling with something, that there would always be someone to talk to. And obviously being a virtual learner and a distant learner, in terms of like we don't see you face to face, that was a really key selling point to me, because you know I don't have a tutor stood in front of me. I knew they weren't going to be kind of there in person, but I wanted to make sure that communication was there, and right from the off it was. And then I think I looked at kind of reviews, people that had used you before. I think the website was really user friendly and really gave you a taste of what to expect if you did join one of the virtual courses. Everything was really easy and accessible and user friendly, and yeah, I think they were probably the key bits. But I think probably the most important thing was the communication side, and you know Astutis excelled at that. They were, like I said, always on the end of the phone, always willing to help, always on whatever question you had, they were there to answer. And that really shone through on the course as well, because at the end of every day or end of every session, you were able to stay on if you had a further question that you might not have wanted to ask in front of other people, or if something if you were doing some revision and something came to your mind and you wasn't sure, we were provided with email addresses for the tutors who were with us direct, got back to us directly, and were in constant communication. So I think that was the best selling point.
Delighted to hear that. And my final question for you, Jayne, is obviously we've heard about the exciting achievements you've already achieved in your career. And we're ecstatic to hear more. What next for Jayne Morgan?
So I'm working really hard at work in my new role as director and setting the kind of direction for the company. And again, like I said, I've got a really great team of colleagues behind me, all very invested in health and safety. So really kind of driving health and safety and well-being and working with our employees. So from a business point of view, it's really kind of speaking to the people and getting people engaged with health and safety. So I think that's that. But in terms of personal career, do really want to go for my chartered membership with NEBOSH, getting more involved in the wider health and safety community as well. Joining seminars and things that on bits of health and safety that are kind of new and upcoming, or things that we might not touch on as much at work, and how I can learn from that and bring it into the workplace. So in terms of career, I do want to, obviously as well as my role here at James Hall, really get involved with the health and safety community out there. And there's always something new to learn, there's always something changing, and really engaging with people from different industries and drawing on that knowledge to improve what we do here, I think.
Brilliant. Thank you ever so much for your time, and congratulations again on both your awards that you won at the graduation. And we cannot wait to hear what else you have in store in the near future. Thank you ever so much for your time.
No, it's fine. Thank you very much.